I'm Jake with Down to Earth Trekking, and today I'm going to be going over some additional pieces of gear that I like to bring with me on a backpacking trip. And these pieces of gear can be broken down into luxury items that aren't really necessary for the trip, some additional gear that is necessary for backpacking in areas with bears, and then finally some items that I just like to leave in my car for once I return from the trip. And so I'm going to go over all three of these sections, and if there's one that you're more interested in than the others, I have timestamps in the description, so feel free to use those to skip around. And this video is the 10th and final video in a series where I go over all the gear that I bring with me on a weekend backpacking trip. So if you'd like to check out the other videos in this series, I'll have the playlist linked at the end of this video. Let's start off with the luxury pieces of gear. I have some of them here on display. So first is my speaker. And this is an iHome speaker. They're very durable and fairly lightweight, so that's nice for backpacking. And it's good to bring just to be able to listen to a little bit of music while you're hiking on the trail or once you've made it to camp. And it does have this little string on it, so you can attach a carabiner to it and hang it from your backpack fairly easily to listen to music while you're hiking. But I will say, if there's a lot of people around, just be conscious if you're playing music, maybe turn it down or just turn it off. And then another piece of luxury gear that I'll or just extra piece of gear that I'll bring sometimes is a notebook by Write in the Rain. And that brand does exactly what the name implies. It allows you to be able to write in the rain or really any weather condition, and you don't have to worry about the writing becoming fudged or smudged. So I like that just for keeping track of kind of what we did and some of the key moments of the trek. And then next, I'll bring a deck of cards, especially if I'm going backpacking with a group of guys. Then we've got a form of entertainment, and that's really it. Not super heavy, so not like it really adds much weight. And then I'll always bring my hammock. I love to have a hammock just to lounge around in after a long day of hiking. Like even if I'm sleeping in my tent at night, I'll always throw in my hammock, and of course the straps for it as well. So those are kind of the luxury pieces of gear that I always bring with me. And there are a few other pieces of gear that I don't have on display here, like a camp chair. That could be a good option, especially if you're not bringing a hammock. That way you'll have something to at least sit on. And then also you could just think about a camera or something like that. I know most people have phones now that have that kind of capability. But if you wanted, you could always bring a bigger camera as well. But that really covers it for the luxury pieces of additional gear that I'll bring. Next, I'm going to cover some additional gear that you'll need to bring if you're hiking somewhere that has a lot of bears. And so that will be first either a bear box or bear bag. They both function about the same, and that is to keep your smellables and food away from your campsite and out of the hands of hungry bears. So a bear box is going to usually be a metal or plastic cylinder that you put all your food and smellable items into, and then you carry that with you. And once you get to where you're going to set up camp for the night, you go and you put that bear box somewhere well away from your campsite. That way if a bear does smell it, they're going to be attracted to somewhere that isn't where you're sleeping. And then the bear bag, again, it really works about the same, but you're going to stuff everything into it and then hang it from a tree with some rope. And so really the only difference is that a bear box works best for like a smaller number of people, like 1 or 2, whereas a bear bag is going to probably work best for a larger group of people. And so again, they both work the same. You want to store them somewhere away from where you're sleeping. That way if a bear is attracted, again, he ain't walking right through your campsite. And then another piece of gear that you may want is bear spray, but really your own common sense and caution are going to be the best defense you have against any kind of bear or wildlife that you may encounter. Just give them plenty of room and space, and don't go antagonizing them or getting super close to them, and you should be all right. And then also, if you're going to be hiking somewhere with a lot of bears, and especially if you're by yourself, I would recommend bringing a spot device, which is really just like a little GPS looking device that keeps track of your location, but also allows you to contact emergency services if you need, even if there's no cell service. So that is convenient if you need it. Finally, I'm going to cover a few items that I just like to stash in my truck for whenever I come off the trail after a backpacking trip. And first is just an extra set of clothes. That way I have a fresh set of clothes to change into after I've been hiking. That's especially nice if I have a long drive ahead of me before I get home. And then I'll also stash a body towel That's just like a giant butt wipe pretty much that you can use to kind of clean off your body. And then I always throw in a stick of deodorant. That way I'm not just super smelly while I'm driving home. And then as well, some extra food and water. That way if I've exhausted all that I had on the trip, I have a little bit extra in my truck to eat on and drink if I need. And so that's really all the extra stuff that I'll stash in my truck, and that is very optional. You don't have to do that at all. I just think it makes it a little bit more convenient for me whenever I come off the trail. All right, well, that covers all the additional gear that I might bring, be it luxury gear or if I'm hiking somewhere with bears, and also the items that I'll stash away in my car. And know that all of this is additional gear, so it's not necessary unless you're hiking somewhere that has bears. I would definitely recommend the bear box or the bear bag. But everything else is truly optional, so you can pick to bring it or leave it. It's really up to you. You can definitely customize your pack to your own preferences. And until next time, keep on trekking.